broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Houston, Texas. It's time for Houston Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Hello, Houston. Trisha Stetzel here, bringing you another episode of Houston Business Radio. It is my pleasure to introduce you to my guest today, Michael Dodsworth, founder and CEO of Fanfare, a platform that helps brands turn product launches, events, and collaborations into unforgettable experiences. Michael and his team are redefining what it means to launch something in today's attention economy, helping companies not only create buzz, but capture real, actionable insights that drive loyalty long after they drop. So sneak peek into things that we might be talking about, from ticketing and retail to live events and brand partnerships. Michael's journey has taken him through some of the most high stakes, high pressure corners of commerce, including launch disasters, sold out moments, and everything in between. His mission with Fanfare is simple but ambitious: to make every product launch feel like an event fans remember and brands can learn from. Michael, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. I'm nodding along to my own intro. It's a good sign.
Well, I'm so excited to have you on the show. So, Michael, tell us a little bit more about you.
So I, as you can probably tell from the accent and not from around these parts, Fanfare is based in LA. I found myself on these shores through all kinds of different forks in the road, but started life in the north of the UK, became an engineer pretty early in life, a software engineer. My brother brought home a Commodore 64 and that was me hooked. And since then, I've been building software, I've been building platforms, found my way into San Francisco through an acquisition of a very small company, and had the opportunity to work in amazing places with amazing people and on issues of scale that I think is pretty rare and unique, and has helped kind of build this appreciation for these moments, these launch day shenanigans that we all see. But these surges in traffic, the bots, the bad actors, like these are all very, very gnarly technical challenges to try and get your arms around. And we don't see a lot of brands and vendors, even people with lots of resources, been able to take those on. So that's kind of the origin of me. The origin of Fanfare really came out of just frustration as a consumer, having spent my life loving going to live events, going to festivals, and struggling every single time to get tickets. It's just incredibly painful, and it's a pain that we all share. Like, everyone has their bad moment. Like, it may be that you sat in line for 4 hours, for 5 hours, and you saw all of the tickets vanish onto the secondary market. But maybe it's you booked tickets to the US Open, and when you turned up, the tickets were not valid. They were illegitimate tickets. So I've heard all kinds of stories on that spectrum. I felt a lot of that pain, and I set out at the start of, when was this? This was 2016. We started a company, Rival, which, as the name kind of suggests, is going after the likes of Ticketmaster and so on. Yeah. And we really wanted to provide some competition. We felt like there really needed to be a better way for the consumers to do this. You quickly realize that it's not just the consumers, it's the people on the other side of the fence, the teams, the promoters, the artists are also having horrible moments when things go on sale. And we built this platform. It was looking good. And when we were at the start of the pandemic, Rival was scooped up by Ticketmaster. And that kind of, I was hopeful that this would allow me to solve for these frustrations at a larger scale, but that's not how things turned out. So I ended up just being frustrated that these problems weren't being solved, and starting my own thing to go after this.
Okay. All right. So in the vein of beat Ticketmaster, or beat them at their own game, what lessons have you learned with the experiences as you've moved through this journey with Fanfare?
Yeah, I think we had all of our values on the wall, and one of them was respect the problem, solve it simply. The more we spoke to team owners, to promoters, to venues, the realization of all of the complexity of what they're doing. Just managing these venues is incredibly complex. working around the seasons of all of the different teams, the sports, the artists. Like, it's incredibly difficult what they do. And it's not something that you can just stand up a platform that does something very simple and they're going to be able to do their day to day. So that was one. It was interesting learning about the different incentives that different people have in the ticketing industry. I think, and often at cross purposes. So we really wanted to slow the process down and make it more deliberative and more careful and so on. But the promoters want to say, sold out in 50 seconds, right? And so you're kind of thrown at odds in all kinds of different circumstances. And I think that's the source of some of the frustration that people feel when tickets go on sale and there's only a small slither of the tickets available. That's often because the teams have kind of passed off risk by giving tickets to brokers and third parties and so on. So there's a lot, I think, at play there. I think one of the really important things to learn from the teams was that they were all trying to create moments. They weren't just trying to sell tickets. They were really, especially the really forward-thinking teams, were trying to think about ways that they can really create fandom and really go after, creating experiences that people will remember well, good experiences, like the moment they took their kids to see their first baseball game, and what could they do to try and elevate those experiences? Like, could they offer them like a better seat if they knew that this was their first time? Could they try and get them back in to the venue if they knew that these people are kind of on the cusp of becoming lifelong fans of the Dodgers, say? So these are, I think, interesting realizations. Like, they're really thinking about how they can like create something that's memorable, and they just didn't have the means to do it.
Yeah, the client journey, that's what's really bubbling up for me, right? This whole client journey. So you started your story with being on the other side as a patron trying to buy tickets, and now you're on the inside working with the teams who are trying to create moments. At what point did you realize that it wasn't just about selling the tickets? It was about these moments that these teams wanted to create for these families or people who were just buying tickets?
Yeah, I think it was more just reminding me of like what memorable moments have I taken? Like, why am I a fan of a particular person or a particular brand even? And it is often these kind of special experiences that we share, right? I think I can remember my first football game. I can remember a rugby game, rugby final. Like, these are like memories that really stick. And I think hearing the teams talk about what they wanted to do and thinking, like, living in that, the mind of the family going in and having like special treatment and like merch given, like all of those things, I think would just have created an amazing experience for me. I think COVID taking that away also reminded me how much I missed those experiences, like being around people, been around groups of people who all like commonly share in something. I think I really missed that. And I think that reinforced with me how important these opportunities are for teams, for artists, for brands even. So I think that's where it came from.
Yeah. So there's so much noise out there, Michael, just so much noise, and we're all bombarded with so many things that are going on. So how does Fanfare cut through the noise and really create this moment or this journey for the client?
Yeah, what we've seen is like why the noise gets created is often because the brands have very little information or understanding of what works, what doesn't work. So they end up just bombarding people. Like, my inbox is filled with with
I'm not the
spam.
only one.
Absolutely. Like, I have just kind of carved out an inbox over there that I just occasionally look at, just because they don't know what channel works. They don't know how often. They don't know like what's really going to move the needle with people, what's what's important to people, and so on. So I think without all of the information and the ways of using that information, they just kind of scattergun approach it. And that's what we all feel like when we see those messages go out, emails in particular, it's because they're just, they're trying their best, but they don't really have any way of focusing. So I think for our brands, being able to give them those tools, if you want to create an experience that's special, you need to carve out some experience just for your VIPs or just for your loyal subscribers. And then you don't want to send messages too often. The most effective way to reach people is maybe the Friday before, maybe 2 weeks before. And here's the channels that work with these people, so that there's a very high signal to noise on the messages that the brands send out. So when people see a message from a brand they care about, they know it's not just spam, right? They know it's something important that they might want to look at. So I think that's how we've tried to help brands with this, like provide them data so that they can make more focused decisions about how they reach people.
Yeah. So we're moving from Michael the patron to Michael the engineer, businessman, making sure that we're looking at the data. And I think that is so important. As we get kind of to the middle of our conversation, I know folks are already interested in connecting with you. So would you give us the best way to find you and connect with you?
Yeah, I'm perennially on LinkedIn. You can find me. Michael Dodsworth is my handle, but there are not many Michael Dodsworth in the world, thankfully. So you can find me pretty easily. Grab some time. I'm always happy to talk about this stuff. If you have something coming up, if you have a launch coming up or something you want to get on sale, please reach out. You can also find us on fanfare.io. We've been trying to produce articles and blogs, some content around all of these releases, whether they go well, whether they don't go well, the to-dos, the do not do's of these kind of events and what we've learned from it.
Okay. Thank you for that. All right, you guys, LinkedIn, Michael Dodsworth is the best place. That's actually, I think that's how I found you. Or maybe we found each other on Matchmaker FM, which is a podcast matching, right? Which is great too, to go and meet some really cool people. Excited to have you on today. Can we have one little fun conversation around Taylor Swift, maybe?
Sure.
If there are any Swifties out there. All right,
Yeah.
tell me the story. So tell me about Switch 2 and the drop that broke everything.
Yeah, I mean, these things happen so frequently. There's the feeling. I remember a friend reaching out after the Switch 2 release, and he said, I think this is part of the process. When things fall over, I think this is deliberate. Like it must be, because it happens every time. There's no way this is just they can't scale to meet these requirements. And I'm like, no. They lost business when this happened, right? People went to Best Buy, it fell over, so they went to Walmart or whoever. So these are painful moments, and I'm kind of surprised still how often, like if I need to find case studies of people who've had drops go badly, it's a really easy dip into X or wherever. You can quickly find people who've had issues. So I mean, Taylor Swift, everyone on the inside, I'm sure, saw that coming. Just high volume on sale on Ticketmaster. These things, I mean, they go badly almost every time they happen. So Oasis shortly after that, Ariana Grande recently, all had serious issues. I think in the Taylor Swift case, this was a pre-sale that fell over. So not just a general on sale. This was just her most loyal fans showing up excitedly to try and get Taylor Swift tickets, and they're met with just an error page or worse. Like they get their tickets and then they vanish. So I mean, this comes from kind of an ailing platform. Like Ticketmaster's been doing this for a long time, and I would say, having not invested as heavily as you would like on the technology side, having like scooped together all kinds of acquisitions and kind of glued them together, what you end up with is a system that, when you really pressure test it, when you really put some people in there at high scale, that it just falls apart. And that's what you see with Oasis, with Ariana Grande. Like all of these things just really challenge a platform that is difficult to now right the ship. I've worked at places where we've had platforms that have some years behind them, and it's a constant effort to make sure that they are current, to make sure that they can deal with the traffic volumes as they increase, and to keep on top of things like bots and so on. So I think this is just, it's a difficult problem to solve, but it's not something that you can kind of tack on after the fact easily. It requires like a multi-year effort, and I haven't seen that kind of effort from many platforms, none in the ticketing industry, which is, I think, why Rival's approach, starting something new, knowing that these kind of traffic volumes happen, that you should prepare for them and you should build everything you do around those kind of events, is where Rival came from. And that's what we've done here, is just knowing that, at the scale of 3 million Swifties, a lot of things can be put under a lot of pressure, and you have to be the platform that stays up around these things. So, I mean, I've been in situations where we've had outages, where we've had these kind of moments. On the other side, it's incredibly painful. I mean, there was an outage yesterday from AWS. These things cause enormous damage. And as an engineer in those moments, there's some scar tissue for sure built up around those moments. But it really has just been very disciplined about how you build, and really keeping like this particular feature, this particular element of what you're doing, top of mind whenever you do it. So nothing really gets into Fanfare without it being fully pressure tested to make sure that we can stay up.
Yeah. Okay. So now I'm wondering, like, business lessons from Michael. Like, what have you learned about doing business along this journey from being a patron, taking your engineer skills, building the platform, staying ahead of the game? What have you learned about business on this journey?
I mean, I've had to learn a lot quickly. That was actually one of the reasons for starting Fanfare. Is I felt like, as an engineer, like I had the engineering chops, but there was a whole world out there that I was less familiar, that I was less comfortable with. And the quickest way of getting there was to start something myself and really test myself in that way. So, I mean, I think realizing, coming from an engineering perspective, like there's always the focus on the product, like what it does, how it does it, and the quick realization that people don't really care too much about that. They don't care about the details. They don't care about the amazing engineering you may have done to build some feature. Like, I see a lot of engineers who quickly jump into the walkthroughs and things like that, and it's not about that. It's about understanding people's pain. Like, what are they trying to do? Why can't they do it? And listen to how they've been going through, the motions and what they've done to set this up, and what are they really trying to achieve from this. Because, sometimes the answer is not your platform, right? Sometimes the answer is not the cool feature you've built. It's, it's really talking to people and understanding what they're doing. So I think that was an adjustment. Like, sometimes you think you've gotten there, and then you read your own notes, you go back and look, and you're like, I'm definitely still talking about how the platform can solve a problem they've not talked about yet. So there's some great material out there. There's a book called The Mom Test that someone pointed me at, and I point people at generally. It's just a good way of kind of level setting on that, and making sure that you really are getting the right answers, and not just trying to reaffirm something that you already believe and things like that. So I think that's been an important lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. I think oftentimes we lean into all of the bells and whistles. Let me tell you about all of these amazing things on my product or my service, in the way it doesn't make them feel anything, right? Those don't create an emotion. For some people it may, but it doesn't create that emotion. And you talked about this at the top of our conversation around the journey and the moment. And that's really what matters. That's what people are looking for. And I love that Fanfare is really focused on that. I think that's amazing. Okay, so if it's all right, I'll switch gears just a little bit. You talk about the sneaker culture. Can you give me a little more insight on that?
Yeah, so I'm an aspiring sneakerhead. I have a large collection in my wardrobe that's a little bit embarrassing when people come across it. I think there's a lot people can learn, brands can learn, more traditional brands can learn from sneaker culture. And I see more established brands reaching for this kind of model. And the idea of, running limited sales, doing collaborations, and again, like trying to create a community feel around a product. Like sneakerheads are a group, right? They understand each other. They know the pain that each other went through to get the products. Like you can see people walking around in, Travis Scott dunks, for example, and most people don't notice it. Most people look past things like that, but people who know that they went through incredible pain to probably get those products. So I think it's that feeling of creating a community around a brand. Supreme were incredibly effective. Like anything that went on sale with the Supreme logo on, people would jump over to get after. So I think that's a really important lesson, is trying to create a community of people who love your products, who will like espouse the product's values and kind of bought into the story. And we see people doing that all kinds of different ways. Sometimes it is the narrative of the brand. Sometimes it is having people buy into the origin story, what the brand is going after. Sometimes it's just the quality of the products that people put out there can, form a community around that brand. People do it in different ways. We saw a soap brand in LA called Dr. Squatch do a collaboration with Sydney Sweeney, where they had Sydney Sweeney infused bathwater soap. Like completely bizarre, but incredible way of just getting attention to your brand and driving people towards it. Like you're the brand that's, it's soap, but you're trying to deliver and like inject a bit of humor into it and a little bit like, trying to do something a little different. So people do it different ways, but I think trying to do something that creates this feeling of community, I think is really important.
So tell me a little bit more about Fanfare and the role that Fanfare is playing in creating these communities, and why someone would want to go and check out Fanfare.
Yeah, so we kind of facilitate these launch experiences. So if you have a product that's going on sale, like I say, building a community may mean rewarding your most loyal subscribers, let's say. So you want to create an experience that goes on sale at a particular time, and you want someone else to take care of how that on sale happens. Like you don't want to be scrambling around in the moment to try and flip things on, flip things off. So we facilitate that. You want to also make sure that they are messaged in the right way through the right channels at the right time. Like that we can help you structure all of this as a marketing event. So all the way from announcement through to actually running that experience itself. And then once you're in the experience, doing things that I think help foster that fandom. So things like moving your most loyal members forward in line, or giving them exclusive access, or rewarding their time even if they're not successful. Like if you're selling only 10 of a thing, most people are going to be disappointed in some way. But if you can give them something in that moment, if you can give them early access to the next drop, we've seen a brand do, they called it the L Club. The people who'd failed 5 times to get some particular product were now eligible to an exclusive drop. Like if that really keeps people engaged with the brand, there's a feeling like you are having this exchange with the brand, like you're giving them your time and attention, and they're giving you something back in return. So I think that's how we can help.
I love that. And just creating this community and getting people involved and making them feel special, right? Making them feel special. So who do you serve, Michael? For those people who are listening who might be interested, who do you serve?
So we started life going after the people who are running drops, who know drops, but are struggling to manage the process. So streetwear, footwear is where we started life. But this is like anywhere you find scarcity is a good place to add Fanfare. So this can be, you have a loyal audience, you have a following online, and you want to put merch out there, you want to monetize what you have. Like this is a great way of doing that. Live events, luxury products, collectibles. We heard from a guy who he loved 10-figure coffee grinders and was frustrated with the process. Like we found all kinds of places where you have these scarce products and a bad process. So that's where we can come in.
Okay, fantastic. You guys, if you're interested, please go take a look. It's Fanfare, and it's FANFARE @IO. is where you'll find that, or you can find Michael Dodsworth on LinkedIn. I've got one more question for you before we wrap up today. You've seen both chaos and even magic in the world of launches. So if you could leave our listeners with one piece of advice today about turning high pressure moments into lasting momentum, what would it be?
Yeah, I think the brands and the people we've seen successful on this really are trying to create something that's kind of magical for the people who care. I think trying to just give people coupons and discount codes just doesn't cut it. Like trying to engage people, and trying to keep those people engaged with the brand is a real full-time effort for people. And I think, trying to do that and trying to create special moments for people, for their loyal fans is incredibly powerful. Like we see people really move the needle. Like I think Stanley was a great example of that. I think trying to create something that went viral was their target, and their sales numbers, I think it was 3x their revenue every year for the last 3, like incredible growth from really going after this model.
Yeah, and everybody wanted the pink one, and they were always out. I'm just saying, the pink Stanley mug, everyone needed one. Yeah, absolutely. Michael, thank you so much for being with me today. Anything else that we didn't cover today that you wanted to chat about?
I think that covered a lot of it. I would just say, if you are struggling with some of these events as a consumer, like I'm with you, I'm with you there. Like this is painful, and I'm always open to hearing about new and interesting ways people find this problem. Whether that's a brand, whether it's people trying to book swim lessons for their kids. These are all painful processes that we go through. So I'm always open to hear about this.
Yeah. It's not just the big things, it's the everyday things that we're trying to do as well. Thank you so much for being on. This has been such a great conversation.
Thank you so much.
All right, you guys, that's all the time we have for today. If you found value in this conversation that I had with Michael today, please share it with a fellow entrepreneur, veteran, or Houston leader ready to grow. Be sure to follow, rate, and review the show. It helps us reach more bold business minds just like yours, and your business, your leadership, and your legacy are built one intentional step at a time. So stay inspired, stay focused, and keep building the business and the life you deserve.